has enormous potential in personalized learning, and also providing the feedback to tutors and teachers to be able to help them provide that kind of personalized learning. I think it's always been the case. If you ask people, as I've done at numerous conferences and workshops over the years, who has been the biggest influence in your life, the majority of people say their teacher. Yeah. It's a teacher that has got the capability and the insight and the human characteristics to be able to treat each child or each student as an individual. And the very best teachers can do that. My question, I guess, then, is because things are changing so quickly, both in the world that people are going to live into and the tools that are available, how well equipped do you think schools and universities are to be able to respond to these opportunities?
It's really interesting. I'd hate to judge all schools or institutions in the same way, but if you take a sort of generalistic view, many people in those industries haven't had a great deal of life experience outside of teaching. So they grew up in a teaching environment. They went to university, they went to teacher training college, they went into teaching. Now, I'm not denigrating that, because that was being a very good model for a very long time. But not having had experiences of doing things in different ways means it can be quite challenging to implement new ways. I remember years ago do you remember when Google Cardboard first came out and you could put your PC, your smartphone in a cardboard box and take kids on ventures? Well, that was, I don't know, eight years ago now. It was a long time ago. And I think in the UK, they were having all sorts of pushback about the difficulty of trying to get people to see the value. But, quite frankly, we need to help our teachers, help our lecturers, help our institutions to grasp this with both hands, to remind themselves they need to remain relevant. It's the worst thing in the world is to become irrelevant. And if you become irrelevant, the Khan Academy takes over, for example, all of your students and all of your pupils, and you end up with an empty building, you probably end up with an empty salary. So the bottom line is, you've got to lift your head up and smell the roses. You haven't got a choice in the matter. If you want to do well by your students, and you made the right point, it is an inspirational teacher that probably have the biggest impact on your desire to learn and your place in life. Therefore, we need our teachers and our lecturers and our institutions to recognize that virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, using artificial intelligence very much to deliver personalized education paths, and including how to engage on a humanistic level with people, is the game in town. I just, frankly, you either do this or you die.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Can I just move on to ask you about the role of digital humans in all of this? Because now there are even consumer technologies which allow you to generate a digital human. It allows you to get that human to speak and even be animated. And it allows you to get that digital human to deliver content for you. And now we're moving into an era, although it's not there yet, where we've got conversational AI, where you can have somebody on a screen, particularly medical applications, and you talk to them, and they intelligently interpret your audio, and they give you, hopefully, an intelligent reply. Now, do you think that's the kind of tool that teachers and lecturers are likely to embrace and make use of, or do you think it's going to be a threat to their existence?
Well, let's pick up that last bit. Yes, of course it is. It's like all new technologies. Originally, institutionally, it's often met with resistance because it's a different form of doing what those human beings had traditionally done. But these things, aren't the same as humans. They're actually better. And the reason I say that is a human being in front of a class or a lecture hall can only deliver one message in one style at one time, whereas every individual student or pupil can be experiencing the right avatar, delivering the method, the topic in a different way to an individual that appeals to them. So, I remember when I used to teach Sunday school 1,000 years ago, And I went on teacher training to do that. And I was taught that when you're a baby, you put your hand in your mouth, and therefore you're experiential. Then you slightly get more advanced, and you look at things and you can reason and you can hear. And then ultimately you can read things and interpret knowledge from reading. Well, I got stuck pretty experiential. So I like learning from experiences. I remember them forever. Now, in virtual reality, if I go for a field trip around the Forum with Julius Caesar showing me the way around, pointing out bits of the city, the money, the currency, the relationship with people, I'm going to remember that all my life. The guy next to me can be reading a book and having an avatar helping them through that book and articulating various bits of it in a way that suits them. We can both learn the same thing, but in completely different ways. So I would want to hope that teachers would want to assess individuals' desire to learn, or lack of desire, because it sometimes happens, and deliver for them the best way of learning. That's a great way of a human interaction. And one of the things is gamification, the ability to, if you like, disguise learning in the form of a game where individuals don't want to learn but enjoy the game, and the rewards that come with the game are learning things. So yes, do I think they'll resist? Of course they will, because it isn't like normal. It isn't what they were trained for. It isn't what they experience. They've got to change what they do and how they do it. And that'll upset a lot of people, including the unions and the people who represent them. And, you know, we'll have to then think of different ways how we orchestrate human interaction between people and students that isn't just a classroom. We've got to how we do all of those various things.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I suppose my next question is going to, what's the environment in which this is going to take place? Because, you know, when I was at school, and I remember this very clearly in a geography lesson, the teacher I was more interested in learning about the spinner that I'd got for my fishing. I had a spinner under the desk, and I remember the teacher shouting out, "Willie, what are you doing?" So, you know, are we going to have a situation where in a physical space, students are going to be on their smartphones, all doing things, something different, personalized to them? Or is it likely to be a combination of people doing this on demand in their own time when it suits them, but then coming together in a classroom environment?
I think the easiest way to look at it, if there's no more classrooms, forget the concept of classroom. The funniest thing I ever see, and I've seen it for years actually, is Education of the Future. It shows tablets and electronic screens replacing chalkboards and notebooks, and people sitting at desks in rows facing the teacher. It's more fundamental. It is not about being in a classroom at all. But it is about kids and human beings learning to interact with one another in common groups and in regular groups and in new groups and collaborating in different ways. So we've got to think from the ground up is, where do we want people to be to gain all the skills we want, social skills, etc., as well as knowledge and learning and all the other things. So we've got to think differently about the purpose of a structure. And if you think about it, a school used to be a building. It's a noun. It's now a verb. It's schooling. I need to be schooled. A university is a verb. I need to university. I need to go to university, but it's no longer a building. So I don't need buildings and bricks and mortar. But what I do need is a discussion that says, what combination of peoples do I need to give people the skills I want to do the things I want to do? Is it small tutor groups coming together? Is it a bigger group, age group? Is it a group of like people who like specific issues? Like you mentioned about wanting a spinner, maybe it's people who like spinners in geography. They meet physically in the village, in the town or the village if there's big enough population, and they meet as a group. They meet online. They meet physically. So it's more like sort of summer camp. If you think about the way we can reconstitute where we physically collaborate, and where we study virtually can be anywhere. I mean, I think in China they're now using eye recognition to tell if a kid's paying attention or not. So if you had your spinner under the desk, they might spot your eyes have moved, and you're going to get caught out. So maybe you get electric shock in China. I don't know. But the whole point is that, you know, we've got to really think. We've got to start from the beginning, the absolute beginning.
Well,